for laundry.
On the what's the bit? I don't remember the bit.
Right,
yeah, or like Chaz Palminteri when he in Bronx Tale.
We probably stole it from Seinfeld.
No, and when he's like,
wouldn't put it past him.
You think Ted Williams cares about you? Or DiMaggio? You think right? Isn't that what he says? He turns to the kid.
Right, but if Joe DiMaggio got traded to the Boston Red Sox, everybody that booed him suddenly cheers him. So the Yankees, though, in the height of it all, they were cherry picking the biggest, like, not nice guys, like Kevin Brown, Randy Johnson. Like, these are guys that are like real red asses.
It was, but yes. But it was
so
great.
Hold on, but like 8 months ago, I'm going, you suck, Johnny Damon, fuck you. And 8 months go by, and I'm like, Johnny, yeah. And I'm like, what kind of life is this? This is ridiculous. What kind of people are these, Henry? You wrote Runner Runner was very hush hush when you couldn't even tell me in my garage it was that secret.
Well, you had asked a really good question. You said, were there any screenplays that you've written that you felt like, oh, that should have been a movie, and it wasn't? Remember, you were asking that on the air, and I said there was just one that I could think of because a lot of screenwriters tell these very depressed stories that are accurate about I wrote this or I wrote that, and it's Jay, I'm going to break the fourth wall and say you just walked across the room, and now you're I think you got across the palatial fake mustache studios.
All right.
They're not. You don't think these are palatial?
Please tell your story.
Yeah, the point
is, it's not a podcast about our surroundings.
Well,
that would be Guess Where I Am podcast.
I'm taken with the Parka Lounger. I like the Parka Lounger. Here's the thing. I don't have a lot of those stories, but there was this one script that I was like, this fucking ridiculous. This movie hasn't been made. It's really worth making. And right around then, there was this chance that these guys were going to do the movie. And so it came together.
What call comes first? Is it like Ben Affleck's people go, hey, Ben just found this script and he's into it? Or is it a studio call? Is it your writing partner?
It's that's a
Art
really
Garfunkel,
great,
does he call up?
Levine, that's a great question. What happens is the studio guy who had originally bought the script at Studio A, he got a job running another studio. So he said, I've always believed in this. I'll try to help you put it together. I think it should be a movie. But then what happened was, like Justin Timberlake read it and said,
yo, this would be dope.
Very similar to what he said. He's like, you know what, I was thinking that maybe it would be all right if we, I'd like the gambling if you could just explain how it works. But so he...
Which is always what you want.
No, he was great. He loved it. And
that's what John C. McGinley said right before he took Platoon.
If you just explain to me what this Vietnam thing is, bub. I'm all in it, bub.
I got a bad feeling about this one.
Bad feeling about this Vietnam War thing, bub.
Yeah, John, just say it again. Don't say Vietnam War.
Sorry, I'm going with history books here, bub.
No, okay, right. So, JT...
Oh, how good... Can we get from Platoon? How good is that moment in Platoon, man?
When he realizes that Barnes has no allegiance to him whatsoever?
Everybody's got to die, Red.
Well, I never asked you for a fucking thing here, bub.
Everybody's got to die. Oh, it's
I need every free swinging dick I got out in the field, Red.
Oh, it's so good. But I got a real bad feeling, son.
I got a bad feeling about this one, Bob. And then in the middle of the firefight, we've jumped over to Platoon, for those of you scoring at home. In the middle of the
Which
big
isn't a comedy, by the way.
end-all firefight, the mass destruction and death, and like when the Vietnamese are just literally running over their already dead bodies to kill other guys, John C. McGinley, he grabs like two dead guys and puts them on top of him, and he hides. And then at the very end of the movie, which is so spooky because everything's covered in that white sulfur powder from the bombs, and these tanks come in, and it's the corpse crew. It's the guys that clean up dead bodies after. Like, it's the part of. This is why I love Platoon. You never think about, well, who cleans all this shit up? Because it is an actual hamlet they set up in. They're like, there's a well of water, and there's a little general store, and 14 feet from here is another thing. And these guys come in these tanks, and there's just something about the tanks that Oliver Stone uses. Like, the tanks are creepy. It's a tank. There's tanks throughout the whole. We've all seen a billion. And the guys are dressed differently creepy. Like Kevin Dillon, like you think, how can you get more creepy than Kevin Dillon?
One of the creepiest, ever.
But these guys somehow come in. They are like Grim Reaper guys, and they're like bulldozing bodies, pouring lye on top of bodies, like, and they're holding German Shepherds. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And the dogs are like aggressively pulling these muscle-bound. They look like cartoon warriors, these guys, like muscle-bound guys, and the dogs are like excited about the death, like pulling these guys. And then John C. I keep wanting to say Riley, which would be a much different movie. The clown has no penis.
Yeah. And
Step Brothers.
Yeah.
Fucking kill you, Leonard Lee Nimoy.
If we really want to jump around,
so
State of Grace
he throws the bodies off of him, and then looks up at the Sergeant Death collecting man and goes, "Fucking pussies, man! They all cut out on me, man." Like he immediately springs to life like a phoenix out of the ashes, and has a line of bullshit. And he's probably gonna get a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star.
Well, it's so great because he's such a suck up to Barnes the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, and then Barnes betrays him, and then Barnes dies, and he lives. At the end of that movie, the last half hour.
You heard the Charlie Sheen interview?
Yeah, of course.
When we just broke it down.
Yeah, of course.
And I said, and it's great when there's an actor that has forgotten a piece of something.
And you can.
And I go, sometimes I feel like I was born of both men and always had two fathers. And he goes, yes, hello, exactly. Like he starts getting super excited. And I'm like, I'm right? I'm right. And Elias was Christ.
Oh, well, yeah, Elias was, there's no question about it when he's running out of the woods and he dies with his arms.
You know what you notice in that? No squibs go off. There's no blood. It was a mistake. But it's too perfect a shot to reshoot it with blood going everywhere. Willem Dafoe gets shot like 75 times by like 1,000 Vietnamese
what's amazing
soldiers.
Is that I'm sure you remember this, but the shot of his smile. Right before he gets shot, before
they flush him out.
He sees Barnes.
Yeah, and he smiles because he thinks. I always thought he knew Barnes was going to shoot him right there.
See, I think he thinks Barnes is going to save him.
Oh no, I didn't.
I think when he first sees Barnes, he thinks he's going to save him, and then it turns. That's what and then he realizes it changes. Look at his. I wish we had it here, but I think that what Dafoe is playing is a moment of, because even though I hate Barnes, I would save Barnes, right? Dafoe's.
You know what Dafoe is playing? I knew all along it was going to end this way.
Right.
You killing me.
You think that's what Elias is playing?
That's the twist. Is that Dafoe is the big twist? Is that Berenger doesn't have the balls to kill him? He's a fucking coward. And they just leave him in the ground. And he just goes over. Elias is dead. And they get in the helicopters and take off.
And then they see.
And they see like he's still out there.
And then they say, "Oh, it's sick."
But when he gets shot and does all this flopping around, no squibs go off. There's no blood. There's no explosion. And it's that perfect shot. He's in that Christ pose, and that giant Huey splits his arms like a field goal.
Yeah.
And I guess Oliver Stone, God bless him, because he's made some clunkers. But that's one of the greatest films of all time. It's too perfect a shot. I'm not going to reshoot it just to get blood.
I mean,
think about that. I'm not going to reshoot a guy getting shot to death just so I can see blood. It's too perfect a shot. Like the aesthetics around it are so incredible that people don't even realize there's no blood being shot 75 times.
Well, that sequence of that movie is so powerful. You know, I guess I was probably 19 when that movie came out, and all of the movies I saw leading up to, I guess somewhere around my mid-20s when I started watching movies differently, maybe beginning to think about doing this with my life. They would hit me so fucking hard, and you'd collect those scenes, those moments, and they keep living like that whole sequence there, the smile.
I can hear the music in my mind.
I could talk to you about that for an hour.
Yeah.
Like about what that made me feel like the first time I saw it. Like you and I could go. I mean, I don't want to. Like that smile that Dafoe gives, that moment, he's so perfectly cast in that movie. From the moment you first meet him, you know, and he adjusts Sheen's thing before the other.
You don't need this. You don't need right before they go on the night raid.
Right before they go on the night raid.
Charlie Sheen's loaded up like he's going to camp with like a shovel and you don't need this. You don't need this. Look, I'll hump your gear, and if you get lost, and he does the same laugh there. He goes, "Don't call out."
Yeah, when people on Twitter always ask. I do this thing every, a few weeks or so. I'll say for the next half hour, I'll answer any screenwriting questions on Twitter. And people, I like doing it. It's a really good way to sort of at one time answer a lot of questions. I wish I had that kind of a resource when I was starting out. But if you are a screenwriter or someone who wants to be a screenwriter, and people ask about what does it mean to how do you make real seeming characters, or how do you very quickly, without doing too much exposition, explain who somebody is? I mean, just watch that sequence. You learn everything about Elias, about Dafoe, about why he's important in that first 5 minutes of that movie. And it's the Oliver Stone cast it brilliantly. Defoe was like not really famous. He was famous, but he wasn't really famous. But the way that character is written is so just amazingly perfect to me.
To go back to what you said earlier, because I do want to talk about Runner Runner,
Talk about anything you want.
there's cookies here if you want cookies, chocolate chip and oatmeal. So,
Thanks.
no, I have no conscious thought about entertaining the people around me. I'm a compulsive talker, and when I get excited,
Right.
I get manic. Not
Yes.
near manic. I get manic, and when there's a dunk, I'm gonna look at the guy next to me and go, "Whoa!" like any other fan.
Right.
And I think that's what you saw is me actually behaving like
But
I
there's
did
also
when I was
and
on.
that's a nice thing for you to
when I was
say
on
that you
Valley
don't give
View
it any
Road.
thought. But there is a certain generosity of spirit that you display in that environment that I think,
But I think that
leaves people with something
I think
that's
that
nice.
generosity of spirit is what you bring into every environment.
Right, but
I
for a
don't
long
think
time,
I
people
don't think
thought you were a huge dick. People thought you were a
Well,
dick.
because I played like a Rutger Hauer level dick.
Yeah, because you played this giant dick in the movies.
Yeah.
Because of how people thought you comported yourself in the beginning.
Louis
of your-
C.K. said it the other day on Opie and Anthony.
What did he
said,
say?
a funny arrogance. And I said,
Right, yeah.
wow, I never heard it explained that way. Most people just call it dick.
Right.
And he
That's
goes, no, I
great.
thought it was funny.
That's great, but if people could see, if people saw you interacting in that way, it was just a really cool thing it was a cool thing to see because none of it seemed phony at all. It just seemed like you were there interacting almost like you were
Having
just watching
fun.
the whole section. Well, it was fun. Yeah, it was
It
great.
is weird,
and
like,
the Knicks won.
to have that much of a reputation of being a dick, and then you had a courtside seat, literally, of me just actually, like, completely just shoving food in my face and having a nice time for 3 hours,
Not being a dick
not
at
including
all.
the meat
Well,
in the walk home.
I know you're not a dick, but even in your own book, you paint yourself like a fucking dick. For
Well,
a
that's
lot of your
based
life.
on from what everyone's told me and the way people behave when my name comes up, where I'm surprised by it. Like, wait, that guy? Why? What? But that's the
and that-
podcast has really made that ebb.
And then because of the fucking throwing the guy in the garbage cans, you throw Neil
Oh,
Brennan.
Neil Brennan.
Neil
That
Brennan
was
in
still
the garbage
funny.
cans.
Neil Brennan even admitted that was funny.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
was
he
like-
did. I
he
checked
was
him
like,
into
it's been-
the.
He said it took him years to get over it. Funny. It
was snowing out.
He said it took him. He said
right.
he's
That's a
he's
dick move. That's also booze.
right.
So there's the answer for me acting, having a great time.
And if you did have to throw someone in the garbage cans, Neil's perfect.
Neil's perfect?
Sure.
Sure.
Good guy to throw.
Oh, perfect for throwing.
Yes.
I thought you meant like he's a perfect person for throwing.
No, I'm saying if
If you're gonna throw someone
that's not
Brad, that's
can.
not Brad Williams. If you're not gonna, Brad Williams from the podcast. He's a midget comic,
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
and he literally has to tell people in meet and greets, "Don't pick me up."
Oh.
And I was like, "That's not true." And then he was backstage with me at Denver. We were at clubs in the same town, at the Comedy Works. He was downtown, and I was in Village Square. And they literally I just hear no, and I look over, and it's just two fucking dudes are trying to pick him up during take a picture of us with the comic.
I don't know if this is true, but in the Scorsese movie that he's shooting now called The Wolf of Wall Street, it's based on a true book written by a guy named Jordan Belfort. And in the book opens with a scene of a bunch of boiler room, Wall Street dudes having a huge party where they paid to be able to do what they would call, and I'm using the wrong term, but what they would call midget throwing.
Dwarf tossing.
Dwarf tossing.
Yeah.
And so I think that'll be in the movie. I think, because the book opens with,
Now, if you're a midget,
That.
you just chalk that up as a gig?
that's my
My
question.
God, guess what? I'm doing a Scorsese movie. What happens? Well, Leo DiCaprio picks me up and throws me down a bar.
When you were
In a fight scene?
how did
No, they're all mocking me.
when they would do the little person tag team wrestling when we were kids?
Loved it.
Did you love it?
Yeah, I did.
I haven't
hated the women.
Me too.
I was like, this is a
I
waste
didn't
of
need
my
the
time.
fabulous moolah.
Yeah,
that
I
was
always
her
like,
name, the
what am I
Fabulous
watching this
Moolah.
for? And I hated when in WWF,
Right, that was my
like
thing.
Linda, they got loose where like a girl would come in and like slap a guy in the face and be like, she's a tough customer. I'm like, nah, not really.
Yeah, not if. Yeah.
Hey, who's tougher than that girl? Except a whole bunch of dudes,
More Norm. Please.
Oh my God, runner. I was gambling once. I was in Moose Jaw, Saskatoon. That's Canadian Plains there, And you always remember the hands you lose, not the ones you win.
Norm, were you a Bruno Sammartino fan? How'd you?
Oh my God, I love those shorts he wore. That's the thing with those wrestlers. They always wear those weird shorts, Nowhere else Like there's no, if you go on vacation, you know, and you're like, hey, Brian, I'll be right out. I'm put on my swim trunks. And after I put on my swim trunks, we'll all jump in the ocean, you know. And you're out there in your board shorts, you know. Like Brian saying there's board shorts, those guys wear, you know. They come down like just above your knee, those board shorts, you know. And Brian's like, oh, I'll be right out here in my board shorts, you know. And then I come on those Bruno Sammartino shorts. You'd be go, oh my God, what the H? What are you wearing? What's going on? Like, I'm for laundry.
On the... Oh, what's the bit? I don't remember the bit. Right, yeah. Or like Chaz Palminteri when you're in Bronx Tale.
We probably stole it from Seinfeld.
No, and you know when he's like,
wouldn't put it past him.
You think Ted Williams cares about you? Or DiMaggio? You think, right? Isn't that what he says? He turns to the kid.
Right, but if Joe DiMaggio...
But it was
great. Hold on,
great.
but like 8 months ago, I'm going, you suck, Johnny Damon, fuck you. And like 8 months go by, and I'm like, Johnny, yeah! And I'm like, what kind of life is this? This is ridiculous. What kind of people are these, Henry? You wrote Runner Runner is very hush-hush when you couldn't even...
Because, you know, a lot of screenwriters tell these very depressed stories that are accurate about, I wrote this or I wrote that, and it's, Jay, I'm going to break the fourth wall and say you just walked across the room, and now you're... No, it's, I think, you got across the palatial fake mustache.
He got traded to the Boston Red Sox. Everybody that booed him suddenly cheers him. So the Yankees, though, in the height of it all, they were cherry picking the biggest, like, not nice guys, like Kevin Brown, Randy Johnson. Like, these are guys that are like real red asses.
It was, but you know, yes.
Even tell me in my garage it was that secret.
Well, you had asked a really good question. You said, were there any screenplays that you've written that you felt like, oh, that should have been a movie, and it wasn't? Remember, you were asking that on the air, and I said there was just one that I could think of.